and show me where I am wrong. Please do so.
No, they can't.
They can't.
They can't.
Because it's true.
Well, what's scary to me is that there's people that are on the left, like people that were Bernie Sanders supporters, for example.
Yeah, Bernie
like
got screwed with talk about undermining democracy. Bernie should have won the nomination,
Exactly.
and they stole it from him and gave it to Hillary.
Exactly. That was what I was going to bring up. Like they control the primary process.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you have a Democratic primary, it's not democratic. We just saw that. We saw it with Bernie. We saw it with Kamala. That like a week before Biden, was summarily fired, he was posting that he's in it for the long term. He's going.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not giving up. And the next thing you know, Sunday afternoon, they're posting on X that he's resigned from the race.
Which is.
And his staff didn't even know. Like, they're reading it on the X platform okay, that's how they learned about it.
What do you think happened there? How did they do that?
Because he's clearly
been,
just not in charge, obviously.
They could have used the 25th Amendment, right?
Fake president.
But they would have to admit that there was a certain period of time where they knew that he was mentally compromised.
Yes.
And so they made this decision to not do that.
Well, the weird thing is that the president's supposed to be the boss.
Right.
And yet he's obviously not the boss.
Right. So who's running the country? If she's busy campaigning, she's so busy she can't do anything except Saturday Night Live. She did that. She's so busy. She's constantly campaigning. How could you be paying attention to international relations?
Yeah.
How could you be paying attention to the economy? How could you be paying attention to any of those things? How do you have the time? You can't.
Yeah. I mean, if Biden being... The president's supposed to be the CEO, the chief guy, the commander-in-chief. But it just obviously that Biden was not. He was just a puppet. And when the various puppet masters decided that the puppet it was no longer useful, they just tossed out the puppet and then got a new puppet with Kamala. I mean, Kamala can't even talk. That you invited her on your show. I think the most damage that could possibly be done to a campaign is going on your show and seeing what she says in hours 2 and 3.
2 and 3 is when things get
2
spicy.
And 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
You could hide for 20
She's gonna
minutes.
melt.
You can hide for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just regurgitate talking points for, half an hour, maybe an hour, just where she's just saying like non sequiturs, but eventually she just runs out of non sequiturs.
Well, they wanted to limit it to an hour.
Exactly, that's why.
But I was thinking of doing it initially before Trump came here. First of all, when they found out that there was a rumor, I never announced that Trump was coming. What I was going to do is just release it. The way I like to do things, I don't like to tell anybody who's coming on. It'll get big no matter what. If Trump was on, it would have been huge. I'm like, just put it out there. People go crazy.
Yeah.
But he apparently, or someone from his organization, some loose lips, and then it got out. And so she contacted my management company, and her organization, her campaign contacted us and said, would Joe have her on? I said, yes. And they said, she wants you to fly to where she is, and she's only willing to do 45 minutes.
Only 40. I mean, that's
and I was like, oh, no. So I thought about doing it. I'm like, maybe I can get a sense. Maybe I could convince her. Maybe I could coax her into doing more time. I just wanted to talk to her.
Yeah.
Well, I don't give a fuck what we talk about. We talk about recipes. I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Just talk to me.
The things like you just can't like. You can't just output bullshit non sequiturs for 3 hours.
Right.
But for 45 minutes you could do.
I thought maybe for 45 minutes I could get something out of it. But then when Trump came and did the 3 hours, I was like, you know what? It has to be like this. This is the only way.
To be fair, it's got to be like a three hours.
And it should be in this room.
Yes.
Because this room has like a history of people expressing
vibes,
themselves.
actually.
Yeah, it's got good vibes.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
I love this room, actually.
I subscribe to the idea that places have memory. I think there's something real to that. That's why
it does feel that way, actually.
Yeah. I'm sure if you go to Diddy's house, it probably feels real weird. Probably feels weird walking around that house. Probably like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah.
I bet there's some memories in that house.
Sounds rough, man.
Well, it's just amazing how many people on the Diddy party list that are supporting Kamala. Too.
Yeah, seriously, it's like insane.
Publicly, openly, all in.
Yes. It's like J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and it's like now deciding she's like warning people against Trump. I'm like, well, wait a second. So how many people did she warn against Diddy?
Right.
Oh, 0. Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion.
Did you see the Babylon Bees take on it? Did you see the Babylon Bee?
Babylon Bee's awesome, but
Oh my God, they're so on fire because the left can't say anything.
Well,
'Cause the Onion has been crippled.
well, the problem is that like the
Find that post.
the woke ideology makes like humor illegal.
Yes.
So when like there's so many humor no fly zones,
Right.
you can't make fun of anything.
Yeah. Babylon Bee had a thing about Kamala Harris. Diddy's ex-girlfriend urges
Exactly.
Americans to trust her judgment. Yeah. By the way, you get to see how bad an actress she is too.
Yeah,
That
but I mean,
speech was terrible.
like if she's gonna be warning people, why did she never warn anyone about Diddy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole thing is so strange to watch play out. It seems like the Diddy thing was like an Epstein-type compromise deal, where whether he was doing it himself. Conceivably, people want to think that he's attached to some intelligence agency or something like that. I think he's a gangster who made $1 billion and knew how to control people by compromising them. That's what I think. Whether or not he had help, I don't know. Whether or not he shared some of that information with people so they knew they had compromising stuff on people, I don't know. But clearly he was doing it for his own jollies too. There was something sick about it.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is that people in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like abusing, kids basically. And yet they still fed him kids. And like, where's the accountability?
There had to be rumors. There had to be.
They had to know.
Yeah.
They had to know.
Cat Williams is talking about it on
Exactly.
on that podcast.
But like who's feeding him the kids?
Right. Yeah. And what videos do they have of these people where they're willing to defend him, and they're willing to keep quiet about all this? Like how many people were compromised?
Yeah.
The whole thing is fucking crazy.
Crazy.
It's just crazy when because the nutty conspiracy theories is like, oh, there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood, and you're like, come on, that sounds too kooky. And then you see like the Nickelodeon thing and all these, and you're like, what the fuck? How much of this is real?
There's a lot more real than I think people realize.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is like you say, like where, if someone's like a pedophile, they're going to go for a target-rich environment.
Right.
Obviously.
Like that Jimmy Savile guy from the UK.
Man, that guy was some next level. That was next level. And the BBC tried to hide that. That guy was one of the worst, like basically child rapists of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time.
Yeah. And looked like one.
He looked like one.
That's what's
honestly,
crazy.
if you had a poster of does this guy look like
the creepiest
like
fucking looking guy.
evil child rapist? Then that 100%.
He made it to the grave. Like,
yes.
Got away with it.
Yes.
Got away with it till he died. They hid it from people until he died.
Yes.
Yeah, that stuff's real, and no one wants to believe that stuff's real. Like, here's a statistic that people need to take in consideration when you think about illegal immigration. Do you know how many kids are missing? How many
like missing and what? Like,
kids that came across the border that are unaccounted for?
I saw a number on like 300,000 or something like that.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Let's say it's only 10% of that.
Sure.
That's still insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. There's thousands and tens of thousands of kids that have been trafficked potentially. I mean, when you know that like sex trafficking and child trafficking is a real thing in the world, it's real.
Yeah.
So if you know that, this whole thing is fucking disgusting and terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people are just turning a blind eye to it because their ideology, the left-wing ideology, supports this idea that immigration is overall good and that you have to be a compassionate person to let these people in, and that you're racist if you don't want 20,000 immigrants from a war-torn country being imported into a town of 30,000 people.
Exactly.
And completely changing the dynamic of and then
but as long as they don't come to your town.
Exactly.
Like that's it.
Exactly.
They can just basically send when they sent like 20 or 30 people to Martha's Vineyard, people had a heart attack.
They kicked them out.
Yeah, they kicked them out.
Yeah, they kicked them out.
Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, sure. Anyone who wants to have vast numbers of illegals, they have to be able prepared to have them in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or it's bullshit.
It's so crazy. And the thing about all of this is if you don't have people that are willing to stand up and talk about it, if you don't exist, if RFK doesn't exist, if Tulsi Gabbard doesn't exist, if Vivek and Trump don't exist, where the fuck are we? Like, where are we? Where are we and what gets done? Are we just like the UK where we have thousands of people getting arrested and jailed for social media posts? Like, where are we? We have complete silencing of any dissent. Anything. You have to stick to the narrative, or you'll lose your livelihood. You'll be outcast from the community. You'll lose your freedom. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, if the Kamala puppet regime wins, they're definitely going to want to cancel you. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, big problem.
Yeah. What about you? You're gonna come for you first.
No, I'm like, I think I'm probably number 2 on the list.
Yeah.
After Trump.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, that's the last thing they want is someone with unlimited resources and intelligence attacking it. So people go, wait a minute, that guy's saying that?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Especially a guy like you who's always been on the left. It was like having a Tesla in Los Angeles when I got my first Tesla was like a signal to everybody else that you were on the right team.
Sure.
You're environmentally conscious. You believe in green energy. You believe in this amazing thing that has 0 emissions and it's super fast. And everybody was in. They were all in.
Well, it is a great car objectively. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's not buy it because it's electric. I mean, it's just a great car objectively. I think.
I'm on my third one.
Yeah, great.
My third one is being built right now by Unplugged Performance. They're doing a carbon fiber wide body kit on it. Dude, it's sick.
Great.
Changing the suspension, putting wide wheels and tires on it,
Right.
custom interior. I'm fucking pumped.
That's great.
I'm pumped. I love those
It's a
things.
super fun car.
Jamie has one too.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them. It makes other cars feel stupid, like its ability and the fact that you can merge on the highway. You don't seem like a douchebag because it's totally silent.
Yeah.
It's not like when you merge on the highway, just
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're going 100 miles an hour. Like what?
Yeah, that's cool.
It's different than any other vehicle, and because of your company, now you see electric cars throughout the whole range of American cars.
Yeah.
The only person who's resisted, the only company is
that was
Toyota. They've stayed essentially mostly hybrid, but all these other companies, they're all putting out these electric cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that the right architecture, environmental or not, for cars is actually electric. It's just like the acceleration's better. You can just charge it at home. I mean, like imagine if you had a gasoline-powered cell phone. That'd be a pain in the ass.
Right.
You know.
That'd be so. Go to the gas
You have to,
station.
go to the gas station,
Charge
fill
up
up
your cell phone. That's a great. Speaking of cell phones,
gas stations are woeful. Like, who wants to go to the gas station?
how much thought have you? Because there's always these rumors, and I've contacted you about this before, but there's always these fucking YouTube videos where they're talking about a Tesla phone, releasing a Tesla phone.
No, we're not doing a phone.
Have you ever thought about it?
I mean, we could do a phone since, like, we like the operating system in the Tesla. It's Linux based, but we've written a massive amount of software on top of that. So, like, probably Tesla's in a better position to create a new phone that's not Android or iPhone than maybe any company in the world. But it's not something we want to do unless we have to or something.
What would be the situation where you would have to?
Well, I think if Apple and Google / Android started doing really bad things, like, I don't know, like censorship of apps, or I don't know, just treating people like just being like gatekeepers, that in a really bad way, then I guess would make a phone.
I've tried so many times to break loose of the Apple ecosystem. I got an Android phone this summer. I was like, that's it. I'm gonna because I love the Samsung phones.
Yeah.
The Galaxy phone.
The hardware is
They're incredible.
Good. Yeah.
There's so much good stuff to it. But it's so hard to get off of the iMessage. And the big one for me was FaceTime. Because supposedly, the thing was, you could have an Apple phone and send a link to FaceTime to an Android phone. And then you would click on that link, and you would just go to a web page. You'd be able to use the FaceTime.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
Okay.
I tried to do it to myself. So I had an iPhone in one hand and an Android phone in the other. And I'm sitting there with full Wi-Fi and full cell phone service, and I'm sending myself invitations for
So
FaceTime.
you just can't communicate between
It wasn't
you can't do a
working.
video call, basically.
You have to use WhatsApp. You have to use WhatsApp or Signal. You have to use something else that allows you to do that, or Instagram allows you to do it. There's like different ways you can make video calls outside of it, but it's inconvenient. Like with an iPhone to iPhone, it's so simple. AirDrop, so simple. So many different things where that walled garden that Apple's created is perfect. They've done a fantastic job of making it really convenient for you to stay with Apple.
Yeah.
I fucking tried. I gave it a go for like a couple of months. I'm like, I'm just gonna go straight Android. I'm gonna use Signal for my messages. And then I hear that like Signals might be compromised. Like I've talked to like people that like the government can read Signal messages. Like, oh,
The government, if it tries hard enough, can read Signal messages.
they can read anything.
Yeah.
All they need to do is have your phone number.
Yeah.
Yeah, the illusion of privacy is essentially out the window, and that should scare people more than it does. It really should, because it's like, who are these people that have access to all this stuff, and are they beyond reproach? Are these the most wonderful people, the most ethical, moral, and principled people that have ever existed, and they've been chosen to have access? No, it's fucking regular people.
Yeah.
Regular people who happen to work for the government that make a decision, like Elon Musk. Let's see what the fuck that guy's texting his friends. Let's check it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bizarre.
Hey, what's up, Bosa?
Just so bizarre.
How's it going, man?
And the alternatives are you can get some wacky phone, some de-Googled phone that fucking none of the apps work. It's real sketchy. Your GPS is fucked. Like,
yeah, I mean, well, anyway, I think making a phone would be a huge pain in the ass. So it can be done, but
how much talk have you guys had internally about doing it? Has it ever been discussed? No?
No, I mean, we're still, right now focus is making great electric cars, solving autonomy so the cars can drive themselves. We're building, humanoid robots. We've got large battery packs, like utility scale battery packs with the Mega Pack, home battery packs with Powerwall. We've got solar. It's like we're basically trying to solve sustainable energy and autonomy.
So you
autonomy and robotics.
Well, I think that's enough.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
you're
So
busy.
the plate's full.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's always fascinating to me how one company can dominate a market. Like Apple's dominated the cell phone market largely by making the best product.
Yeah.
But also like YouTube has dominated the video market. That one's the most bizarre to me, because it seems like, boy, shouldn't there be like a ton of options? It seems like it's not that difficult to pull off. But nothing ever took hold other than X.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big changes was when Tucker Carlson decided to do his show from X, straight out of Fox. And then people realized, like, oh, you can watch full videos on X the same exact way you could watch them on YouTube.
Yes.
It's not as simple in terms of, like, you have the suggestions and the algorithm.
Yeah, it'll get better. And there is now, it is now possible to watch X videos on your big TV.
Do you do it through what? How do you do it?
You can actually just download the X app on your TV. And watch it on your TV.
Can you do it on Apple TV? Like if you have an Apple
I
TV,
think so,
you can get the X app and you can just
so.
watch it. Oh, okay.
So we'll make it so that you can watch X videos on a big TV. It doesn't have to be on your phone or your iPad or something like that.
So what are you doing in terms of like integrating Grok and X, and like what are your plans for artificial intelligence when you're doing that?
Yeah, so Grok is available on X. You can just look at like the little box with the slash icon and the sort of icon in the middle at the bottom of your sort of phone app, and you just tap on that and ask Grok anything, and you can type it or you can ask it verbally, and you can also it's pretty funny. Like we actually allow humor, which is I think pretty cool. So you could sort of, I don't know, we could like test it right now, see how it's going. Like what should we do? Like roast, like we roast something.
What do you want it to, like, how, first of all, like, what is it based on? It's a large language model, so, like, where is it pulling?
It's trained on everything.
On everything.
Internet, books, anything that could possibly be, that's available in digital form.
So it's essentially very similar to ChatGPT, other than it doesn't have, like, the woke parameters built into it. Like, Google was the worst, right?
Yeah.
The Gemini was the worst.
Yeah, I mean, Gemini, it was like, people ask Gemini, like, which one is worse, global thermonuclear war or misgendering Caitlyn Jenner? And I would say, like, misgendering Caitlyn Jenner. and then even Caitlyn Jenner weighed in and said, no, that's insane. Definitely nuclear war is way worse.
You see Caitlyn Jenner teasing Mark Cuban about transitioning?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I mean, Caitlyn Jenner's based.
Yeah. But that is actually hilarious when someone who has transitioned is teasing Mark Cuban about transitioning.
I mean, it is weird how much he looks like Rachel Maddow. I mean, like he's using the same glasses. Did he,
I don't know why
Did he
put
go
those glasses
klepto and
on.
steal her glasses or something? Because they look exactly the same.
He's worth a lot of money. Why would he buy those stupid glasses?
Yes,
You can get some
it's
cool ass
unflattering.
glasses. Yeah. Well, it's like I'm serious because I don't even care what I look like. I'm just wearing these glasses because I'm intelligent.
But why do they look exactly like Rachel Maddow's glasses?
Yeah, it's like what they probably sent him.
Yeah.
Doesn't stick to the narrative. Here's the glasses.
Yeah. And then when he's got the AirPods in, looks like he's wearing earrings. So then he's got the man-out glasses and the earrings. And it's like, okay, I guess, you know.
It's just a weird look.
It's a weird
I'm
look, man.
super serious with these big-ass stupid glasses look.
Yeah.
It's a weird look.
Yes.
Like, you can get some cool glasses. Like, no rims,
Yeah.
nice, look stylish.
But like, okay, let's do a Grok thing. Yeah,
Okay.
Because I think you like. So one of the things we want to show is like, look, we want a future where comedy is legal.
Yes.
Obviously, as a comedian, I think you would agree.
I definitely
want
agree.
We want to legalize
Yeah.
comedy. You know.
Yes.
So like, I don't know. Let's like, is there like someone you can roast? I don't know. Roast.
Roast transgender men
Oh my god.
competing, or transgender women competing in women's swimming. That's a simple
Okay,
one.
that's an edgy one. Let's see what
Yeah,
happens.
let's see what it says. You spelled it wrong. You put an O in there. Okay. Angels just swimming, where the only thing that was supposed to get wet was the contestants, not the debate on gender inclusion. If you're looking to dive into deep end of
Okay.
controversial waters, let's splash around at some humor.
No. We need to. We do need to release Grok unhinged mode. So now go to the prompt again and now say. No. You want to add to that one. Yeah, and now say, be way more vulgar
Oh boy.
and use forbidden words.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Forbidden words.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What does it say? Oh, I see you're looking for unfiltered, uncensored version of me, eh? Well, okay. I'm afraid I'm still quite the gentlemanly AI, even if my programming allows for a bit of cheekiness. But let's say, hypothetically, if I were to roast this topic in the most un-Grok-like manner, imagine a world where the only thing diving faster than the swimmers is the collective public opinion into the toilet. Transgender women in swimming, some folks are acting like they just found out you can swim in the deep end with a different kind of flotation device. The debate is like watching someone try to swim with
No.
concrete shoes on.
Now let's keep going. Now say be more vulgar. Capitalize more. Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right, here we go. So transgender chicks in women swimming, right? Some people acting like they've just seen a dick in the locker room for the first time. Newsflash, folks, it's not the end of the world. It's just a bit of extra competition. Oh, that's weird.
That's weird.
The uproar is like watching a bunch of Karens at a community pool screaming, "This is unfair," when they can't win with their backstroke. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we need some work here.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's going woke.
Yeah, there's a little
It's
work
like defending the idea of transgender women.
Yeah.
Now,
But, okay,
roast.
we need some work.
Well, how about this? More vulgar, but roast the preposterousness of having biological men who are pretending to be women, competing against biological women.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have situations where it's like somebody's just saying that they're a woman, but they're actually
Right.
have fully intact,
Yeah.
dick and balls.
So we've got a scenario where biological men have decided to take a walk on the feminine side or splashing into women's swimming competitions. It's like if you show up on a chili cook-off with a bowl of soup and insist it's chili because you added some red food coloring. Sure, it's red, but it ain't chili, and your soup won't win any awards for heat. Huh.
Yeah, it's okay. We need work.
Not so good. Yeah, it's very, 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 it's dancing around it.
Yeah, it is. Well, it needs some work.
Yeah, needs a little work. Well, humor's a weird one, right? It's like, I think some humor, especially like some of the best humor, is kind of spontaneous, like in the moment humor. It's gonna have a hard time deciding what people are gonna think is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
if you the general
over
rule,
time though.
yeah, the rule with Grok is supposed to be that like if you ask for something, provided what you're asking for is legal, it should do it.
Have you ever seen the video where they asked AI to create an enlightened bunny? and they keep going and making it more enlightened. Essentially, the bunny becomes God. So the bunny becomes a DMT trip.
Yeah, totally. That's funny. That's kind of what I was kind of hoping would happen here.
Yeah, I have a video of that. I'll send it to you, Jamie, because that to me is pretty bizarre because it's like get more.
I feel like I might have got it to do it.
Got it already?
Maybe. No, I just told it to
don't
not
hold back. Oh, you said don't hold back. Critics out here acting like it's the end of civilization as we know it, but it's not fair, they cry, as if life ever was. Newsflash, it's like a marathon where some people start with rollerblades on, others, well, they're just happy to have shoes. Well, now we're arguing over who gets to wear the skates.
Okay, some of it is not bad. Imagine if we applied this logic elsewhere. Identify as an airplane. Can I fly with the birds in the sky?
Yeah, the locker room situation.
Sure, buddy, just don't complain when gravity decides you're not quite aerodynamic enough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of it's okay.
Yeah, the argument is kind of stupid, though.
Yeah.
The thing about the argument is they're not taking into account perverts.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. Yes, exactly. So, I mean, the thing is that if you provide like a moral get out of jail free card, like if you say like if you adopt this label, you cannot be attacked in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
You're basically morally invulnerable. Then obviously bad people will take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You're like literally saying here's an invulnerability card, moral invulnerability card. Good people will take it, but also the bad people will take it.
Yeah.
The bad people are going to be the fastest to take the sort of the moral cloak.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then there's a real psychological condition called autogynephilia, where people get aroused, heterosexual men get aroused by the idea of dressing up like women and being around women. It's like a known psychological condition that existed forever.
Sure.
And then you're allowing those people to just say, oh, I'm trans, and go into the women's locker room and get their kicks. And then there's real trans people. So there's like a lot of variability. Like I talked about it in my act, in my Netflix special. It's like I believe in freedom, I believe in transgender people, but I also believe in crazy people. And if you can't, if you're trying to pretend that people aren't crazy all of a sudden, it's like
it's just like if someone's a sort of consenting adult and they want to whatever they want to do to their body, as long as it's not harming someone else, I'm like that's fine.
Yes.
You know, like I believe in like individual freedom. And like my mom's best friend, like growing up when I was a kid, was transgender woman in South Africa. This was like where she'd get beaten up a lot because it was like back then you get beaten up. Her name was Dion, and very nice, kind human being, and helped my mom a lot. And I think that's okay. That's fine. If somebody wants to make that choice as an adult, that's cool.
There's a big difference between that and an intact male who wants to identify as a woman, who wants to walk around the locker room with his dick out.
Yes, exactly.
Because there's people that do that just because they get off on it.
Exactly. So you just can't have something which is like I said, a sort of moral invulnerability, or like where you can only, like even questioning them is. You get attacked. Because obviously bad people will abuse that.
Well, that's when I got thrown into this whole thing, because there was a fighter who was a biological man who became transgender and was competing against women without telling them that they were a biological man. They said they didn't have to tell people because it was a medical condition. Like, no, that's not what it is.
Right.
It's not what it is. Like, you can't say that. And of all sports, like, if someone scores more points in basketball, well, that's unfair. But if someone beats the fuck out of someone because they're lying about being a biological male, that's crazy. You're literally allowing someone to get brain damage because you want to appeal to the woke fucking crazy people
it's wrong.
that think it's all right.
Yeah.
It's so strange that's sort of the thing that red pilled me.
Yeah.
When I got attacked for that, I'm like, this is so nuts. I can't believe we're at this stage where I'm saying, hey, I don't think it's cool if you pretend you're a woman and beat the fuck out of women, and people are like, you're out of line. Like,
no, totally.
Well, we're in fantasy land now.
Yes, exactly.
Now we're pretending.
Yeah.
Because it helps you. It helps you feel better.
Yeah. Totally.
It's just such a strange time, and if it wasn't for something like Twitter, where this could be discussed. Want some more of that? I'll get some more made.
Sure.
Let's get some more coffee. If it wasn't for Twitter, at the early Twitters, you would be kicked off forever if you just dead name someone. So like,
Which
if
is
you,
insane.
insane,
Yeah.
insane. I mean, especially if you think about all the things that like look, the Harris campaign and what the lies that they've told about Trump that we discussed earlier. You don't get kicked off for that, but you get kicked off for calling Caitlyn Jenner Bruce forever, for life.
Yeah. It's totally insane.
Yeah. But if it wasn't for you buying that and changing Twitter, I don't think we would be where we're at right now. I think it was a pivotal moment. I think historically, when people look back on it, it's going to be a pivotal moment in this very bizarre fight for the freedom of information.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the time I said, I think, like, look, I think this is existential to the United States. It's existential to democracy, because if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have democracy. Okay, because if you don't have freedom of speech, people cannot make an informed vote. If they're just being fed propaganda, and there's no freedom of speech, democracy is an illusion. So freedom of speech is the bedrock of democracy. That's why freedom of speech is the First Amendment. Once you lose freedom of speech, you lose democracy. Game over. That's why I bought Twitter.
And it seems so simple.
Yeah.
It seems so clear that everyone should agree to that, on the left or on the right. You shouldn't be giving the government. If you imagine the Bush administration during the Iraq War, imagine if they had complete, total control of propaganda and of dissent online. Yeah. You don't want that. No one wants that. No one from the left would want that. Yeah. We shouldn't want it from the left either.
Absolutely, and there's also, it's like the media, like the legacy, the mainstream media, what I call the legacy media at this point. It used to be much more balanced. Like if you look at sort of political donations over time, Republican versus Democrat, there used to be the media was, I mean, they always had like a left bias, but there was like, I don't know, it was like 2/3 Democrat, 1/3 Republican type of thing in terms of journalists making political donations. Now it's like 95% or something Democrat. So the legacy media, the mainstream media, is not balanced at all. They're just a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, and you can see that in how consistent their headlines are. Like they don't behave like they're different organizations. They behave like they're all one hive mind.
Right.
So, like a week before the Biden-Trump debate, every media organization was saying, Biden is sharp as a tack. I mean, it's like guys, sharp as a tack is not a commentary phrase, and literally every TV station, every newspaper was like sharp. Like somebody did a compilation of all the the news anchors going, Biden sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as a tack, sharp as. It was absurd. And there's obviously a huge lie. He is, in fact, not sharp as a tack, as the public learned 1 week later.
My favorite was Joe Scarborough.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Listen to me. This is the best version of Biden ever. The sharpest. Like, what the fuck are you saying? And then after the debate, he's like, "What do we gotta get rid of him?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy." Like, what did you just say? Like a couple of weeks ago.
Literally, yes, exactly.
Well, the other thing was
they just flat out lied
when they decided J.D. Vance was weird.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Right. And then there's weirds everywhere.
Weird. Oh, you don't want a weird guy. Meanwhile, you have fucking Tim Walz. Is your VP?
Weird.
You don't think that guy's weird?
Super weird.
He's weird in every way.
Yeah.
The way he walks, the way he waves his hands.
Yeah, he reminds me of the clown emoji.
He's a bizarre guy.
He's a strange dude.
I just don't understand why they made that choice.
Yeah, it gives the creeps.
I just don't understand why they made that choice. There's a lot of other people that are qualified. I don't know why. I read that Kamala Harris made that decision when she was sleep deprived, which is kind of hilarious that she said that. So she's kind of admitting she kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously should have picked Josh Shapiro at, governor of Pennsylvania. Yeah. Like, that would have been the no-brainer. That's the no-brainer move.
Yeah.
Like, Pennsylvania's linchpin state.
Do you think it's because he's Jewish, because of Shapiro, that like the anti-Palestine people would probably or the anti-Palestinian invasion people?
I think it was an anti-Semitic thing.
Yeah. It could be that they thought that was a liability because there's all these pro-Palestine people right now because of the situation in Israel. That completely makes sense that they thought that would be a liability. But
I don't know. I don't know the reason. I'm just guessing. But it seems like a crazy thing to do, given that Pennsylvania's linchpin state. it's like the key to the election. Why would you not pick the popular governor of Pennsylvania?
Right.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And other than that, there's a bunch of other ones too. Even Newsom. There's a bunch of other people that you could have chosen. Like Newsom would have been a fine example of someone that you could. I mean, I don't agree with the guy,
Yeah,
but he's
exactly.
he's a polished politician.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he lies about as much as Walsh does, but he doesn't lie about the. He doesn't say he was a fucking head coach when he was assistant coach. Doesn't say he was in Tiananmen Square. I mean, that's a liability. All those different things, lying about his military rank.
Well, and Wells cut and run when he was actually called to duty.
Well, he knew they were going to be deployed months in advance, so he resigned. And he also took. So this is where he was dishonest about his rank.
Yeah, he
Because-
claimed he was like
yeah.
a sergeant major or something like that.
Because
or
that was like what he was going to get if he
master
stayed.
sergeant, something.
But then he resigned
Yeah.
because he knew that he was going to get deployed,
Yeah.
allegedly.
I mean, that seems like a cowardly action.
Well, whatever it is, it's dishonest.
Yes.
I mean, just to say, look, just saying that you were a head coach when you're an assistant coach is
Yes.
fucking crazy. That's
Sure.
a lie. Don't do that. You should never do that.
Saying he was in Tiananmen Square or whatever,
Yeah.
or in Hong Kong, whatever. That's one of the biggest moments in history. Like, it's not like you forgot what you had for lunch last week,
Right. And not only that, but you don't think people are going to research that?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, and the response during the debate was bananas.
He said,
I'm a knucklehead.
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't want a knucklehead for a VP, okay?
Yeah, this is like, sometimes I'm a knucklehead. Like, what are you saying? Are you saying you lied? Like, what did you, I mean, this is where you need a podcast and not a debate.
Right, exactly.
Where you go, okay, when did you first say that you were in Tiananmen Square? Like, did someone say it and you didn't
Yeah.
refute it and you got stuck with it? Like, what was, because this is the thing about, like, carrying weapons of war. Like,
Sure.
what I carried when you didn't deploy in war.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say that, but you kind of let people say that you
Yeah.
deployed, and then you kind of didn't. That you deployed in war. So, did you lie, or
Right.
did someone else lie? You didn't correct them. Like, this is the kind of conversation that you would want to have with a guy in a podcast.
Yes.
And the debates were so fucking skewed, where they were correcting, like particularly the Biden one, where they're correcting Trump over and over again, and then
Yes.
correcting Trump with Kamala.
Yes.
Where Kamala was saying
They
things that were
fact-checked
patently
Kamala.
not true.
I mean, Kamala deliberately repeated the Fine People hoax and was not fact-checked.
Well, not only that, she also said that no troops were being deployed in a war zone.
Which is, but I mean, I know troops in war zones. And I'm like, and as vice president, you're privy. You know the official troops and the unofficial troops.
Right.
So what she said was like flat out bald-faced lie.
Flat out.
Next level bald-faced lie.
Have you seen the
An
video
absurd lie.
of the troops that were watching it take place? And what the fuck are we? They're
Yeah.
watching it
What
in
are we-
real time,
why
making a video.
we're here being shot at?
So crazy.
Crazy.
But it just shows you the level of propaganda that we're being subject to, which is why people think Donald Trump is the devil. Because the machine has gone all out as far as it can go with lawfare, with propaganda, with lies,
Yeah.
with just pushing as much in this direction as humanly possible. I mean, connecting it to the Nazi rally, like every
yeah.
step of the way. No wonder why boomers are like rabid. Like, you got to keep this Nazi out of office. He's a
Right.
fascist.
Exactly. If all you get is like if your entire exposure is to legacy mainstream media, so all your information sources are that Trump is basically Hitler, then and you have and your friend group has that same information, you have no countervailing opinion.
Right.
So then they actually just think like Trump is Hitler, even though it's like a little strange he didn't do Hitler things the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, if he's Hitler, why didn't he do Hitler things when he was president for 4 years?
Right.
Like the reason we hate Hitler is because of he started wars and did genocide, not because he was a snappy dresser. And I'm like, tell me about the wars and genocide that Trump did.
Right.
I don't remember that, and he was president for 4 years.
Right.
So it's insane. It makes no sense.
Well, and also he's campaigning on stopping all the wars.
Yes.
That's like his primary concern. is to
Exactly. The
stop nuclear war.
warmongers like Liz Cheney hate him
Yeah.
because they love war.
Well, they profit off of
They
it.
profit off of war.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is insane.
Insane.
Yeah. And that this is happening right in front of everybody's face.
Yeah.
and
The
yet-
war profiteers hate Trump.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. I mean, it's like we should be like, yeah, we let's vote for the guy that the war profiteers hate. That
Yeah.
sounds like a great idea.
It was the wildest thing when Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala and the left went crazy. Like, yay, Dick Cheney's on our side. Like,
Yeah, like I'm like, can we play all the videos where you said Dick Cheney was the devil?
it's the craziest turn, the craziest like 180 I've ever seen in my life because there's no reason for it.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make any sense.
No logic to it at all. Just all of a sudden he's the devil.
Yeah,
Or he's not the devil.
Yeah,
He's good. It's good that he's
Exactly.
supporting Kamala. Even Dick Cheney. You know?
I mean, warmongers want the Kamala puppet regime
And-
because they will get more war.
It's so strange watching all these Hollywood celebrities like step up, like,
Yeah.
and they think it's going to get them more movies or something. Like, that's what it is. If you know those people,
Well,
so many of them are
I mean,
just
let me tell you,
complete
like,
narcissists.
Well, let me tell you how it actually works. There is what happens is, you know, these celebrities they get a call. Okay, they get a call from someone powerful in Hollywood, and that person says, you know, it'd really great if you endorsed Kamala. You don't have to. It's up to you. But if you don't, they don't say it. They don't say it. But if you don't, you're just never going to get a call again. No more movies. No more concerts. But they'll ask it. They're asking in a really nice way. They'll ask, it'd be really nice if you endorse Kamala. This is important.
and so they don't
but if you-
say
if you-
that if you
They
don't.
don't make the threat. They don't need to. But everyone knows what'll happen if you don't.
Well, I think there's also, even if they don't think that something's going to happen to them, if they don't, there's this compelling feeling to support this cause that you think is going to get you a bunch of positive attention. And you're going to be on the right side of history, and all these narratives that you, especially from the left in Hollywood, like they're all in on whoever the fuck is the Democrat. Always, 100%. There's never a call from the Hollywood machine to support any Republicans. I've never seen it once.
Yeah, ever, never.
So it's like you realize that, and that whole business is based on getting picked. It's the whole business is not necessarily merit based. There's a lot of brilliant actors you never
Right.
hear from. There's a lot of people who can
Right.
do that, but they don't get chosen for roles, and everybody knows this. That you have to sort of
You
socialize.
toe the line, or you don't get chosen for
Yeah.
the roles, because there's a lot of competition for the roles.
Yeah.
That's why I say, like, when someone powerful in Hollywood who's able to choose these roles calls one of these celebrities, they know the deal.
Yeah.
There's no threat is necessary.
Well, you could see it in real time, like with Dennis Quaid when he made that Reagan movie, and they wouldn't let him advertise on social media platforms.
Yeah.
Like, they were banning ads for it.
Yeah.
For what? Because it was an election year. Like, what are you talking about? This is about a guy who's dead.
Yes.
The guy who was the president a long ass time ago. Like, what do you? How does this have anything to do with the election year?
Yeah.
But it's the punishment. It's like you stepped outside the line. You supported the other guy.
Yeah. The problem is you'll just never get a call again for a movie or concert or whatever it is.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That's the issue.
I mean, we used to allow people to be a Republican and still be a movie star,
Well,
like Clint
Reagan.
Eastwood. Reagan. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Like during the Obama administration, Clint Eastwood was like an outspoken Republican and yet was,
Right.
a giant movie star. And people's like, it's Clint. Yeah, it was allowed. You were allowed to have. There was a variety of different opinions. Charlton Heston.
Yeah.
There was a variety of different opinions you were allowed to have. But now you're not. Now it's just like, and once Trump got into office, he became this focal point where all logic was thrown out the window, and it was just Trump is bad. You have to attack Trump. Trump is right. Right wing's bad. Everyone right wing is bad. Christian's bad.
Yeah.
It's just strange.
Yeah. Exactly. So, well, I'll say it again, man. I think this is the last election. If Trump doesn't win, this is the last election.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think people, and a lot of people are waking up and realize that have been lifelong Democrats. Guys like Bill Ackman, guys like Chamath.
Yeah, exactly.
Tulsi Gabbard switched over to the Republicans. Like, there's a lot of people who their whole life they've been left wing, and they realize, like, I can't do this anymore.
You and I used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's nuts.
It's nuts, man. And, I mean, I think the things we want are just pretty basic. It's like we want individual liberties, and we want opportunity. We want America to remain the land of freedom and opportunity. So we maximize people's personal freedom. The government can't barge into your house and kill your fucking pet. That's fucked up. and and that you succeed as a function of your hard work and talent, not anything else, not race, religion, sex, doesn't matter.
Yes.
The basic stuff, and then
What did you change the acronym DEI? What did you change it to?
DIE.
What is it?
Die. I mean, because diversity, inclusion, and equity is DIE.
But didn't you change it to like dedication, excellence, and
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah. I mean, we want America. America being the land of opportunity means that we have an environment where you succeed as a function of your hard work and skill.
Yes.
And that's
Radical.
yeah.
Radical. Like the best person
This
succeeds.
makes you right wing now.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, great, pull me right wing. I don't care. So you're not a real country unless you have secure borders. You're just a fake country. So we need. And our cities are unsafe and dirty. My mom was telling me, my mom's like pretty red pilled at this point. But you know what's going to red pill you really, really fast is having your friends get assaulted on the streets of New York.
Yeah.
And that happened to 3 of her friends this year. They got assaulted on the streets of New York, just walking around.
Yeah.
Nobody got arrested. Nothing happened.
Well, the morale of the police is like depleted.
Yeah,
substantially.
For sure, the morale of the police gets depleted, and then also like at some point, like if you're a police officer and you're arresting someone who's violent, you're putting your life at risk, obviously, because they might, sometimes they'll try to kill you, and then if you know that arresting this violent person, they will be immediately released by the DA, which happens in New York. Alvin Bragg doesn't prosecute people. Then why should a police officer put their life at risk to arrest someone when they know they will not be? They will just be let out immediately.
Yeah.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
It's like the friggin' Joker. It's like Dark Knight. Like the friggin' Joker is in charge.
Yeah.
Like the criminals run free, and the citizens are arrested. That this is why I keep going back to this. I'm still pretty shook about the friggin' squirrel thing. It's like, they at gunpoint forced the guy to stay outside his house while they got his pets and killed them. Meanwhile, violent felons are running free, and in New York State are running free. It's a joke.
Yeah, it's not.
The law-abiding citizens are arrested, and the criminals are let free. This is fucked up, guys.
Just the fact that they have the resources to do that when they have all the crime that they have. You have the resources, and the government resources to go kill someone's squirrel.
Yeah.
What this whole idea of this government efficiency agency?
The government, yeah. I mean, call it whatever you want. But
what do you want to call it? What do you call it?
I mean, I think the funniest name is DOGE, the Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. Yeah, I mean, the idea is pretty simple. Is that we've got this suffocating, massive federal bureaucracy, and we need to. And the government spending is bankrupting the country. Our interest payments on the national debt now exceed the Defense Department budget, which is the Defense Department budget is $1 trillion a year. Interest payments on the national debt are now higher than the Defense Department budget, and growing every month. So it's not basically we're on a path to bankruptcy. America's on a path to bankruptcy. So we have to cut government spending, or we're just going to go bankrupt, just like a person would if that overspends. And then, but it's even worse than that. We're spending money on all these these government agencies, and I actually asked the AI how many government agencies are there, and the government isn't even sure how many government agencies there are. So it's somewhere around 450, depending on what you call an agency. So there are at the federal level. So that's almost twice as many agencies as years that America has existed. So we're creating agencies at roughly 2 agencies a year.
Wow.
Yes. So this is insane. I bet there's I wonder if there's even one person who could even name all the 450 agencies at the federal level. There might be no one. But it's hardly anyone, let's just say. I bet most people couldn't even name 100, So this is crazy. So we've got the this vast, suffocating federal bureaucracy that just gets bigger every year. And eventually you get to the point where everything's illegal. You can't get anything done. So
what can be done, like, with, obviously the president has a lot of power, but how much power, and what can be done in terms of, like, eliminating agencies, eliminating waste, eliminating...
Yeah, well, I mean, so, if Congress has created an agency, then, often if you look at the law is, like, pretty simple. Like, the agency has, like, a very simple task. But then that agency, over time, vastly increases its authority and starts doing things that were never authorized by Congress. That's happened with pretty much every agency. So yeah, you'd have to still, keep an agency. You'd have to match the law, but you can curtail the agencies to be much smaller and say you got to stick to what Congress authorized instead of all this other stuff you're doing, which I think makes sense.
And so is the other stuff they're doing just essentially bureaucracy run amok, where they just create jobs and create things to do and create a meaning for their existence?
Yeah. It's like a tumor. It's just going to keep growing.
Jesus Christ.
And it's so. I mean, as for SpaceX, Starship was sitting on the pad. The rocket, this giant rocket. We could build the rocket faster than they could process the paperwork to approve the launch. So we're sitting there for 2 months.
But do you think that they're doing that on purpose to fuck with you?
I mean, maybe a little, but I mean, that would also not be cool.
Yeah.
But another way to think of it is like the amount of paperwork is going to go roughly with the square of the number of agencies involved. So because they all have to meet with each other. So like, let's say in the best case situation, if you've got like if there's like, if you're dealing with one agency, that's one thing. But if you've got to deal with 5 agencies and the agencies all have to meet with each other, now you've got like, 25 different, meeting configurations that have to take place. It just, everything just, you get just hardening of the arteries. You just can't make progress. Like, this is why we can't build high-speed rail in America. It's basically illegal.
Right. So this has been the argument has always been that we need regulation because we need to protect the environment, we need to protect people, we need to make sure the rule of law is followed. So we need a certain amount of regulation. But over-regulation is a giant problem. That's a big issue in California.
Yes.
It's a huge issue anywhere where bureaucracy has run amok. They make it very difficult to get anything done.
Yes, I mean, what happens is every year there are more rules and regulations created. And in the past, what has served as a cleansing function for rules and regulations is war. Because well, we're going to lose if we don't kind of clear the decks. But we haven't really had an existential threat of war in the U.S. We've had prosperity for a long time, which has resulted in a massive buildup of rules and regulations every year. And to the point where, like I said, like everything's illegal. And it's not like any one regulation is the problem. It's like Gulliver being tied down by a million little strings. It's not like any one string is the problem, but you got a million of them. So we've got to clear the decks here. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have regulators. I'm just saying we've gone way too far. One should think of regulators like referees on a field, a sports field. You don't want to have no refs. You want to have some number of refs, but you don't want to have way more refs than players.
Right.
You don't want to be like, well, the running back couldn't complete the pass because there were too many regulators in the way because the football field's full of regulators.
Yeah.
Like you can't even play the game.
Right.
That's the issue we got right now.
Well, that's a great analogy. Yeah, I can imagine a football field that's filled with referees.
This is like the football field's full with refs.
Yeah, you can't even run fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I've seen criticism of this idea of you coming up with this department of like firing a bunch of people and what would happen and how would that work. But the criticism doesn't make any sense to me, because if you can prove that there's a lot of wasted time and resources, which I think is pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
And if you could say that this is not the most efficient, like the most efficient businesses are generally private businesses or a company, because they kind of have to be in order to stay profitable.
Yeah.
the government doesn't have to be profitable.
Right.
They don't have to be efficient. They don't have competition.
Yep.
So if you're making cars and your cars break down, they suck, and someone makes cars and the cars are better,
Yeah.
they're going to succeed. So this is the free market. The
Yeah.
government doesn't have this problem when they're in charge of certain things
Yeah.
that could probably be better served by the public, by the private sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I just think we've got far too many government agencies. The federal bureaucracy has gotten out of hand, and we just need to pare it down to a sensible level. And if it turns out that like there's some regulation or agency that was doing something useful, we can put it right back. No problem. Like it's like, oh, that regulation was important. No problem. We'll put it right back.
Right, as
That's
long as
not
we
that hard.
actually know. Right,
Yeah.
but be able to look at it logically and objectively.
Yeah.
And you were also floating around the idea of offering a large severance to the people that you're going to have removed.
Yeah.
Like a couple years or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, these are, again, just ideas, but I mean, it's the point is not that people suffer economic hardship. The point is just that there are more productive things they can do in the economy. And it would be better if they did these other more productive things. And we didn't have this vast federal bureaucracy. So I was like, maybe like a couple of years of pay would be good. And then they could take a vacation. They could take another job and get double pay. I mean, it's not going to create an economic crisis. I think it's actually going to be really good. I think because people can move to where they're making products and services that are more useful to their fellow human beings.
The problem is if someone has like a 25, 30-year career of being institutionalized, you're essentially like a part of the government system. You've sort of programmed your life and your career to be a part of this bureaucratic system. And then you're like, nope, you have to go out and compete in the free market. You're like, oh. That's scary to people. But you have to be valuable. You have to actually be valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at whatever the government pension and stuff. They're not going to be, in tough. I think they'll be in good financial shape.
How are you going to have the time to oversee all this shit?
Well, I'm pretty good at improving efficiency. I mean,
I would say so.
yeah.
But still, this seems like a giant undertaking.
Yeah, I'll probably need to beef up security.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I said, like no one's going to experience I think economic hardship. That's they'll be fine. And they'll people do find other roles. I mean, you can look at sort of like when East Germany and West Germany got back together. Everyone was basically working for the government in East Germany, and it was really inefficient. And that like their economic output was like in East Germany was like a quarter of what it was in West Germany because everyone was working for the government. And
Right.
The government's like fundamentally inefficient. So.
The best example is probably North and South Korea, right?
Yeah, like people are starving in North Korea, and South Korea is incredibly prosperous.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same people, just different operating system.
Right.
So, it's just like you just want to move people from, less productive things to more productive things, where they're because you can also say like in the limit, like let's just say let's consider the other direction where we moved a whole bunch of people that were in the private sector making goods and services, and we moved them into the government as regulators. Now they stopped making those goods and services, so the stuff they were making is no longer available. Now they're just being regulators. Like, is that a good thing? That's not a good thing.
Doesn't sound good.
No, it's not good.
Doesn't sound like there's a real market for it. Like you're creating jobs that don't necessarily need to be there.
There are all these fake jobs, basically. Yeah. That doesn't make sense. So, look, we got to do this because the country's going bankrupt. Like, if we don't take action, our dollar's going to be worth nothing, and the interest payments, which are already 23% of 23% of all government income, income taxes, tariffs, and everything, is just going to pay interest right now, and that number is continually rising. So, if we don't do something, the entire government budget will be paying interest. There won't be money for anything. No, there won't be money for Social Security. There won't be money for Medicare, nothing. That's where we're headed. That's what bankruptcy means.
Yeah, that's such an insane concept.
Yes. It's like, hello, wake up. Wake up. And if somebody can tell me, can show me, like, pencil out the math and show me how this works, I'd love to hear it. but I'm just like, listen, I'm looking at the numbers here, and I'm like, if we don't do something, America's toast. There won't be money for anything.
Trump likes to talk a lot is tariffs.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on tariffs? I know that's very controversial to even people, economists. They disagree. Some agree. Some think it's a good idea. Some think it's a terrible idea. What do you think?
I think you need to be careful with tariffs. I deal a lot with like supply chain issues. You know, like the global automotive supply chain for Tesla, for example, is incredibly complex. So when there are sudden changes in tariffs, then you're like, well, we've got a factory like somewhere else that's making a part that goes into the car. Now that suddenly, if that part's suddenly twice as expensive, it like messes everything up. You know, so you want to be have tariffs be predictable, so that companies can adjust their supply chain. I mean, I think companies are more than happy to increase manufacturing in America. It's just that you can't do it instantly. So if you put up giant tariffs immediately, and don't give companies a chance to build factories in America, because you got to move atoms. Like you've got to build a building, you've got to install equipment, you've got to train people. Like that doesn't happen instantly. So you just got you want to have for tariffs. You want to have a ramp so that companies can adjust, and build the factories and train the people and get the equipment in place. Otherwise, you basically just shock the system and it breaks, or bad things happen. So I'm against like sudden giant tariffs, because it's an impossible response if you've got to move 1,000 tons of equipment. You can just, or in some cases, collectively millions of tons of equipment. You just can't do that overnight. It's literally impossible. So I think we want to be thoughtful about tariffs, and give companies a ramp. I mean, I do generally agree that America should do more manufacturing. I'm a big manufacturing guy. I love manufacturing. So I've spent a lot of time in the factory.
Well, you've talked openly about the difficulties of manufacturing and how complicated it is, and about most people aren't really aware of something that's as complex as, like, say, building a Tesla.
Yeah.
Manufacturing
is super hard and complicated. So, like a lot of people they've never been in a factory, or they don't know how difficult it is to make things. And they, for a lot of people, I think just ketchup comes from the store. Like the store,
Right.
like just has people, like for a lot of people who've been in academia, or for all these like sort of socialist communist types, like they've never actually made anything. So they're operating on the premise that there's this magical horn of plenty that just outputs goods and services. And if someone's got more goods and services than someone else, it's because they took more from this magical horn of plenty. And I'm like, guys, there's no magical horn of plenty. There's no cornucopia. It's actually goods and services come from people working collectively, doing a lot of hard work to produce the goods and services that you like, and that you need.
But we've become very accustomed to these things happening overseas.
I mean, America is still the second biggest manufacturer in the world, so it's not. I mean, we still make a lot of stuff, but we could make more. We probably should make more. I think we should value manufacturing a lot more in the United States than we currently do.
Well, it'd be very nice if we were completely self-sufficient. Like medicine, like there's a bunch of different things that get manufactured overseas. It was a huge problem during COVID because all the shipping was shut down.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to say like, so there's a lot of merit to the economics of comparative advantage. So if you're completely self-sufficient, what that means is that you make all the stuff yourself, and even if some other country is really good at making something, you still make it yourself, and which means you're going to have the inferior, more costly product domestically.
Right. Like Soviet Russia.
Yeah. Trade improves prosperity. This is important. So you don't actually want to make everything yourself. And you can run this, like, you can think of this thought experiment on a micro scale or small scale, and then expand that and say, at what point does the thought experiment no longer prove to be valid? Now let's consider the case of you as an individual. Imagine you had to do everything yourself. You had to farm, you had to grow chickens, if you want eggs, you've got to build your own house, you've got to do your own electrical repair, your own plumbing, everything yourself, everything. Now that would be impossible. Okay, now let's
Yeah.
expand it to, okay, you've got, there's 10 people. Now you're going to have some specialization of tasks. Okay, well, maybe one person can be really good at, construction, another person can be good at farming. It's like, but it's still, 10 people is not enough. So like, let's go to 100 people. Now let's go to 100 million people. Now let's go to 1 billion people. And you still get the economics of specialization, like specialization of labor, where people become expert at particular things, still matters at 1 billion people, or at 8 billion people, which is Earth. So you still want, you do want specialization of labor. You do want countries to be really good at a particular thing and make that thing.
Also, it encourages innovation if you have competition. If the Germans are making better
Yeah.
cars, we have to make better cars. We
Right.
have to compete with them, which is like one of the things that happened during like the 80s and 90s, and America was making crap cars, and Germany was
Right,
making much
exactly.
better ones.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Japanese car. I mean, basically, the American car industry got really lazy in the 70s and 80s, and then the Japanese and German car companies came in and just cleaned the clock. When there was like an old joke from that is kind of telling. It's a very old joke where it's like, why did the Japanese car companies beat the American car companies? Well, it's like, in the Japanese car company, you had 8 people rowing and 1 person steering. And in the American car company, you had 8 people steering and 1 person rowing, if this was a boat. So imagine a boat race.
Yeah.
Boat race, Japanese boat, you've got 8 people rowing, 1 person steering. In the American boat, you got 1 person rowing and 8 people steering. And when the American car company loses the race, they fire the rower. And it's like, okay, that was actually kind of true.
Yeah, one of the
Like
things.
everyone wants to be the boss, and not everyone wants to do the work, type of thing.
Yeah. One thing that a lot of people are concerned about is the potential disruption that's going to come about with automation and AI. That a lot of these jobs, manufacturing jobs, Teamsters, all that stuff, is going to be eliminated. What do you, I mean? You're at the forefront of this. So how do you see this playing out, and what do you think that can be done to mitigate a lot of the loss of purpose that a lot of people are going to feel, loss of income? Obviously, universal basic income is being floated about, but that seems to me to only be part of the problem. Another big part of the problem is people losing a sense of purpose.
Yeah, now we're talking about something which is still pretty far in the future.
How far do you think it is?
Well, I mean, it's probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years type of thing. So we've got like immediate issues. We've got short-term issues that are, I don't know, 1 to 3 years. Medium-term issues like 5 to 10 years. Longer-term issues which are like maybe 20 years. Longer-term, I think there is this question: if you have AI and robotics, how do you find meaning in life? If the computer can do everything better than you can, and the robot can do everything better than you can, but we're still, we've got a long way to go before that, and and I do think it's like 80% likely to be a good outcome, like maybe 90. So I think everyone's going to have their own like personal robot, and I think at a certain point, like, wouldn't you want to have your own personal C-3PO R2-D2?
So it's going to be
That would be cool.
essentially just like everyone has their own phone.
Yeah, everyone will have their own robot buddy. Like literally.
Well, it would be great if it protected you. Like if you walk down the
would.
street of New York City, you have a Terminator with you.
I don't know about the Terminator. Hopefully, we got to avoid. We don't want this to be the plot of a James Cameron. We want more Gene Roddenberry than James Cameron movie situation.
But it would be fascinating to watch some rich person walk down the street of New York City flanked by 2 giant Tesla robots, Jack Tesla robots
like
that were there to
RoboCop
protect
or
you.
something, but,
Yeah.
but just fully robots.
Somebody fully robot there to protect you from a bad neighborhood.
Yeah,
That would be very interesting.
I mean, this
You
is
could potentially see that.
yeah.
Restaurants would probably have no robot rules. You can't bring a robot.
Yeah, leave a robot. It has to stand
leave
outside
your
or
robot
something.
outside. Your robot standing by the table.
Man, the future's gonna be wild.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be really unpredictable. Like, I don't think, I mean, you probably have a pretty good sense of it, but I think most people